Hello.
Look at Patty. Patty must have dropped her
What
phone
happened to
again.
Patty?
All we can see was like the top of her head. There she is.
Good times. Good times. What's up, y'all?
Hey.
What up?
All right, guys. Welcome back. Let me see what's up in the chat. It's been hello. Good afternoon. I saw some comments already in the chat. We are back. It's Wednesday. This is that's what she said, y'all. That is what she said. Now today is gonna be. It's gonna be fun. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I don't even know how to feel about today's topic. I don't know where this is gonna go. I think we've reached that point with our audience that, we're comfortable here. So we're going to talk about it, but I've never actually talked about anything not business online before. But I think relationships, play into business in the sense that like when things aren't right at home, I think Patty said this last week, when things aren't right at home or anything relationship wise is off, it like affects everything. It affects energy, it affects mood, it affects how you show up, how you interact with people. So Patty, what are we talking about today?
We're talking don't you guys remember last week when Jade was like, last week we're talking about relationships? She started this. So, I think she should kick us off. And yeah, we're talking about relationships because they do matter, and how you show up for yourself and how you show up at home affects the entire rest of your life. And if you're constantly looking for a relationship and you feel like you're missing something, it affects how you do things in life. And I think it kind of started with this idea of, I was saying like, hey, you have if someone is sending you mixed signals, you go to bed at night and you're laying there and the confusion and the doubt leaves you paralyzed. You can't take action. So you don't know when you wake up if you should send that good morning text. And so, we were just talking about how that affects you, and it's a part of life. We can talk about it.
Ooh, there is a quote that I want to pull up, girl, with you just saying that about the mixed signals. I have got to find this quote on Instagram, but it was basically talking about like when you get to a certain space or age in life, or just, maybe a certain era in life, we don't have time for the mixed signals. Like we want direct, we want clarity with everything. And that is what's so difficult about dating, especially in 2024, because life is so vague. And I can tell you some of my worst days working, even in business, have been those days where your heart is sitting in your stomach and you're trying to focus and you're trying to act like you're all good. But the reality of it is you are waiting on their phone call and then contemplating how you're going to handle it when they do call. Are you going to have grace, or are you going to be a bee about the situation? Like, when do you know when to put your foot down and draw the line in the sand? Or when do you know to give grace? But then sometimes it feels like grace kind of comes with, like, if I give you too much grace, then you may take advantage, right?
Yeah, I think your mother and your pastor can give you grace. I think the Lord can give you grace. I think I'm all out of grace.
But you know what? That I think there's and when I hear y'all say that, I think about how women are perceived. Now I know this is not a business topic per se, but I think what's really interesting about the topic is, how like women are perceived. And even in professional settings, women are expected to shrink, so to speak, right? And so and then the internet is the internet. And so now there's so much on the internet talking about, oh, you need to be in your feminine energy, right? Be in your feminine energy. Let a man be in his masculine energy, all that stuff. I'm like, okay, and sure. So, when we were talking about today's topic, I'm like, okay, this needs to really be about feminine energy. What does feminine energy actually look like that's healthy in relationship? How do you show up in the world being feminine? And one of the things that Patty and Jade, Patty says about me all the time is that, Kehlani, you're so feminine. Like, I just would like, you're so feminine. And I have no idea what you mean, because it depends on who you ask. I have other business colleagues and partners and family members that would swear that I am like the bitch of bitches. I'm the wicked witch of the West. And so, I think how we're perceived by people, like it carrying feminine energy or not, if we're not necessarily carrying feminine energy, we're perceived as aggressive and direct and all the things that men are that are successful. So I guess like my question is for all the four of us that are here now, who have accomplished something in a lot of people's eyes would be looked at as successful. But being labeled as a boss or a boss babe or a boss bitch or whatever, like I don't like that. That really like despises me. But I despise that. That irritates me. But Nasima, you're shaking your head. Has that been your experience in your field?
Well, I mean, I'm in a female predominant field, but when you're talking about like this feminine energy and like not knowing what that is, I can totally relate to that. I was raised by a single dad. I like was raised like a man, because that's all he knew, right? And then when I got older, like my grandfather was my best friend. He was a big influence, and my uncle. So I never really knew how to lean into feminine energy. Like I used to kind of crave that. My grandmother was a big influence on me, but she died when I was 14. So like the week I got my period. So, I never understood that side, but I do get a lot of backlash for being aggressive, even in my industry. Um so yeah, I think this is an interesting topic today because I have a lot of thoughts about all the things we're going to talk about relationship dynamics, about just how I show up and present, and then how people perceive me. So just interesting.
Okay. I'm going to say something that I need to say. Okay.
Okay.
First, I want to go back to what Jade said about responding. I want you to know that my notes are filled with responses that will never be received because sometimes you do need to let it out and express some of that. I think that feminine energy is, I think Latoya, you made a comment about it depends on who you're around and who brings it out in you. That was my perception of the energy that we admit for a long time until I spent quite a bit of time alone and I've realized something. The energy that you choose to emit, it should be consistent, right? Because without congruency, there's no trust. That's another thing. I'll come back to that. But what I wanted to say was that there are moments where you are going to I think I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I was thinking you'll have to come back to me. I had something very good, but I lost it.
No, I like your
It'll
energy
come back to
today.
me.
Patty's in Vegas, by the way. I don't know if we said that on air. She's in Vegas right now.
And she's definitely giving like I am so happy to be in Vegas vibes. Like, and you're glowing, girl. Your eyes look hazel as I don't know what.
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, no, I didn't want to cut you off, Nasima, but I was like, no, we gotta talk about this. I don't want this to take a business turn yet. I want this to stick to what we decided to talk about with the relationships, with the, feminine energy, because I don't think that it matters who you're around. It matters that you have gotten to know yourself to a point in life where you're going to show up the way that you're going to show up in touch with your femininity. The truth is that we are in today, every single one of us are women that earn, right? And I think in past times and in different phases of life evolution, humanity, society, things change, right? In the olden days, the women were groomed from young ages to take on marital positions from ages 12, 13, 14, and on. From the moment they got their period, they were in a situation where they were being taught that their purpose is to bear children and to serve a man. And honestly, as long as the men were providing and they were doing things like that, then hey, it was okay, right? This was a universe where the world was different. And now the population has changed. There's a lot more women out there. I think there's more women to men, and then these guys out here that talk about high value men and women. So I think that it's okay to acknowledge that this is a world where women also earn, and that I don't know how men are doing right now. I want to do a temperature check on that if there's any men in the chat, because how are you feeling with this idea that a woman can be super powerful in her feminine energy and want to serve you, yet at the same time not need you to put a roof over her head? I think, that's where we're getting lost in the sauce with feminine energy. Like, hey, if I'm earning and I no longer have this subservient attitude because I don't need you to put a roof over my head or put sustenance in my mouth, then are you okay with the fact that I'm at this table only because I want to be in your presence? Are you ready for that? Because I'm ready for that. Are you ready for that? Can you handle the fact that a woman could want to be in your presence without needing you? She wants to be there. What is that difference? Let's get into that.
Yeah, it's a choice. I love everything you're saying. First of all, you just made me look at something different because I have been a person that I felt has reciprocated energy. But you're right. Like, I guess I need to get to a point where I want to show up as who I am, authentically who I am, regardless of how you show up for me, right? Um, and I think that that is like a trauma protection type deal that we have, but I need to be able to be who I am, and the right person will be able to receive that and not take advantage of that, right?
Mhm.
I also love the fact that you're talking about a woman who can provide on her own. Why do men, the men that do, feel emasculated by that? It's my whole thing is you can be a powerful woman. You can be a woman that can provide, that doesn't quote unquote need a man, but you're choosing that you want to be in this person's space. Not only that, I just had a conversation with a guy friend of mine, and I was saying guys do not understand that powerful women desire so deeply to be led. Like
Yes.
that is what I'm looking for in my next
Yes.
in my next relationship. I want a man that knows how to lead.
Dominated.
Yeah.
You know what? It's
See, no.
interesting because I'm just recently in my naivete learned about like this dominatrix space, right? And the most successful women are the ones that want to be dominated because they have to make so many decisions
Mhm.
in life, like in their intimate relationships. They have the desire to be like controlled and led. So just wanted to bring that
See,
up.
mine is a little different. I want to be controlled. I mean, excuse me, I want to be led
Yeah,
without
you
being
do.
controlled.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry, my
do.
bad. Yeah. I want to be led without being controlled. You know what I mean? It's this fine line of security that a man has to have to be able to
Hmm.
be a good decision maker. Do you have to be a perfect
Yes.
decision maker? No,
Yes.
but I want you to have a thought process that involves me, you, the entire family, how it affects everybody. Because I've been in a controlling relationship before, right?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no desire to
Yeah.
be with a man that feels like you have to like have like me in a chokehold for me not go anywhere. Like what are we talking about? Like why are we even dealing with each other at that point? Like
I just feel like I wish there was men in this conversation
I
because
was about to say
I
that.
really feel like, and maybe the men can chime in on the chat, but I really feel like, do men feel empowered to be able to lead when you make more money than them? You're more successful than them. Like, do they feel like they can be in that capacity? Are there men out there like that? And the reason why I say that is because I had a lot of backlash. I had a post a couple years ago where I talked about like I am setting my daughters up to put them in a position to want a man, but never have to need a man. And I
hmm.
got so much backlash from that. But I'm just like, wouldn't you want someone that truly just desires you? Like, why do we have to have this need? Like, is that like an animal instinct? Like, what is it?
Mhm.
I think I just would like to say on that note is that first of all, I need a man. I need a man to kill my spiders. I need a man to open my door for me. I need
Mhm.
a man to make me feel sexy when I'm getting out of the shower. I need a man to open that door for me and pull out my seat at the restaurant. I need a man because I need to feel protected when I'm feeling scared and nervous and uncertain and I've had a stressful day, and I need his loving arms around me. I
Hmm.
need a man. There is nothing wrong with saying that you need a man. Not needing someone meaning that at a certain age, at a certain portion of your career, whether you are living in an apartment, you own a house, if you have a roof over your head and you're able to feed yourself and you've got a car, you don't need a man for basic necessities. So it changes the fundamental dynamic of the male female relationship, whereas women were groomed to become wives and take on a provider, where those men were out doing God knows what, whatever they wanted, and the women had no power. And then this movement comes along that gives women this empowerment, maybe a false sense of empowerment, because we were taught that we can go out and we should have equality. Well, in this pursuit of equality, we've destroyed the home. So
Hmm.
we now we're not only we're dealing with this pain, right? Because we are saying like, oh man, I'm tired of boss bitching. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the one that has to. I don't want to be. I don't even want to have this conversation. So I do believe that men want to feel, I think that we've reached a point of fatigue in the world and in our society and in our gender groups here that we've decided that we're like, hey, listen, it's not that I'm trying to overpower you. It's not that I'm trying to say that I don't need you. It's that I didn't have anyone else to lean on and I had to survive. And the world, the way that the world is now, I can do that on my own. So yeah, I'm financially set. That doesn't mean I don't need your partnership. And I think if we can become a little bit more vulnerable about the way we talk about things, we can change that. I think a man needs to also feel safe in our presence. Men
Yeah.
carry the weight of the world on their back, and they are supposed to be the provider, even if they're not your provider. It is in their DNA. They have to conquer, they have to go out and they have to conquer. I had a therapist who taught me something. He was an older man. He had ran a family therapy institute for 35 years. I worked with him for 7 years. And he he was a software entrepreneur. He was every sense of the man. Wonderful, wonderful husband. His son ran his company. He was a great guy. Now, he taught me that emotions are not reliable to tell us what's real. So a very simple example of that is you woke up this morning, you weren't in the mood, maybe you got your period, you're just in a bad mood, the neighbor pissed you off, someone cut you off, you don't feel like working, but you do it anyway, right? Because the emotion is telling you, fuck this, let me go back home and go to bed. But logic is telling you, I got to keep going, right? So the point is that emotions are not reliable to tell you what's real. And the men and women are innately different. So women are nesters, right? Your domain is the home. You want to feel like you've got this beautiful home, this safe and secure home. That's where you go to feel fulfilled. If you go home and in my case maybe cook a meal, you clean things up, you plant something, you put a flower arrangement together. These things are fulfilling to your innate nature, right? Whereas a man has to go out and conquer in order to feel that his purpose is being served, that he's feeling useful to yourself and to society. His nature is such that he goes out into the world and he conquers something. And what happens is he comes home because he wants to feel rejuvenated. He comes home because he needs that rest and that recovery and that rejuvenation to go back out and further conquer. So the idea is, can we create such a safe space for the man in such a safe environment for the woman where these needs can be fulfilled in more modern societal, circumstances?
That's actually really good. Dang, that's good. And I want to address a comment real fast, and then I think we're gonna bring somebody on. I think we have a man that we can bring on. It says, but why does a man need to make a woman know she's number one? The individual should know their worth. Agreed, but also disagreed. It's not about a man making her know that she's number one. Everybody under the face of on the earth needs reassurance at times. Sometimes it's just good to hear, right? I mean, we go to work every single day, and the reassurance that you get is by getting that paycheck. So let's not act like, because then you would go to work because you enjoy your work so much and you wouldn't require a paycheck. So it's not the fact that I don't know that I'm number one, but it's the fact that somebody in my life being caring enough to reinforce what the facts are. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's just like when we get on here all the time as women and friends, I don't need to tell Nasima and Patty and Kaylani that they are beautiful and that they are bosses and that they are smart and da 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 da. But we do that because it's like saying, girl, I see you. Like, you out here killing it. Girl, like, you got it together. It's not validation. It is like verification, right? Like, I feel what you're saying, but I definitely disagree with you, LDS.
Yeah.
In love.
Latoya's response was, no matter how confident a woman is, we are human and may feel a little down on ourselves. Having a partner who loves us regardless and makes us feel great is a huge thing. So I think I'm hearing, if I can kind of cut through what I think the general sentiment is, those basic provisional needs of survival, right? If women are not reliant on men for some of those basic things, that it's requiring different things from men, right? That they're not necessarily learning how to provide. Emotional safety, right? For me, is huge. And actually, if we could define what that actually means, I feel like we were at dinner with my dad just a couple nights ago, Jade and I were, and he made a comment about, as he was raising me versus my brother and sister, he put a lot of weight on his ability to provide, right? As a man, for the household, for his wife, for his children, but completely lacked the ability to connect emotionally. And I think a lot of men lack those types of skills. So it's like, okay, I don't have to endure a relationship that has no emotional connection, or where I'm not feeling safe, or I'm not feeling seen, right? In a lot of ways, simply because you can pay the bills. My life isn't necessarily set up that way. Now, some people it is, and we're not talking to that audience in this moment. But I think as women, we need to collectively raise the bar. We just need to raise the bar. And my dad has said it to me since I was young, and maybe, I don't know, this is where I get it from, but he's like, no, you actually hold all the power. Women hold all the power. And if women banded together and raised that bar, it's evolution. I don't think we should be in a society necessarily where the only breadwinner or earner is expected to be the man. That's just not our reality anymore. And I think if we were...
But you hold all the power because the things that motivate men are sex and money. Let's just be clear about that. They're very simple creatures.
And respect. Yeah.
And respect.
Yeah.
That's fine. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So we do have... Go ahead, Jade.
I was gonna say on the flip side of that, because how we were talking about men want respect, women innately need love. I mean, that's just the way that we were created. That's biblically speaking. That is just the way that is our nature. Point blank, period. So there's no getting around that. But also, I do want to defend the man really fast, because there have been times where you do have women that may make more money than the man. Maybe it was her house that they moved into, and because of her insecurities, or based on maybe things not going her way, or maybe because he, may have not respected the relationship, women can emasculate men, right? And make them feel like, and throw things in their face. So that is a fine line that we really have to be careful of, because emasculating a man, then that is carried on into the next relationship, right? The same way that when a woman is disrespected in a relationship, if she doesn't go through her own healing process, she will carry that hurt and that trauma into, another situation. But it does happen. I mean, I have literally heard women talk to men
for sure
crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm not even saying that they didn't deserve it in that moment, but if you are arguing with somebody, argue what the point is. You don't have to now try to tear down their being and tear down their lack of, you know what I mean?
Like, agreed.
Absolutely. I'm so big on respect. And I think that's maybe what Patty senses when she calls me like feminine. I just have this thing about me. I'm pretty much a silver lining person. I see the good in most people. I give a lot of folks the benefit of the doubt. I try to see people for who they are, not the trauma that they're acting through. Like, that's just me. I don't know if I'm a Pisces. I learned that. That's maybe it's just a Pisces thing. Don't know. But, and so when I look at, you know what? Here she goes.
Pisces are like Miss Sensitive, like rose-colored glasses, everything. So I have to disagree. I don't think you see people for who they are. I think you see people for their potential and who you want them to be. I love you, friend, but because sometimes I think people show you who they are and you're like, no, they didn't mean that, girl.
Yeah. The benefit of the doubt can be given once, maybe twice. There's a limit.
Say, give grace to your mama and preacher.
This is supposed to be a safe space. Okay, so we've got this is a super impromptu, guys, but because I think this is such Nasima hit the nail on the head. I wish there was a guy.
How old is he and how tall is he, honey? Because if that matters, let me know.
Well, one of the things, you guys see him in the comments a lot, so I'm going to bring him up and introduce him. Actually, I'm going to let him introduce himself. He's a great friend, mentor to me, someone who intercedes for me and prays for me, someone very close to my family. And so I wanted to bring him on because he can speak from obviously not just the man's perspective, but more so kind of the biblical perspective of what the Bible actually says, the dynamic should look like. So I'm going to bring him to the stage. You guys, please help me welcome. This is my Apostle Sean Mark. Hello.
How's it going, everyone? My face is beat red right now. I've been running 90 miles an hour. I apologize for that. How y'all doing?
We're good. Give me 1 second. I'm going to spotlight you for a quick second until I can get us fixed for a moment. But Welcome, Apostle. Thank you for being here. And let's
Sure.
try this one. Here we go.
That's good.
Much
Mhm.
better. Welcome, and go ahead. Introduce yourself real quick.
First of all, Patty's 6'3". Answer that question. And I apostle a move of God out here in Las Vegas, but it extends into the nations, obviously, thanks to online and social media and stuff like that. The heart of the gospel is what I'm after. God knows I've been through about every rope there is. Business wise, at one time, I walked away from business to pursue this move of God that I'm doing. I'm learning other businesses to get involved with. So a lot of what's talked about in this program really connects to me on that side of things. I love the humanity and the beautiful, like, you're very strong women. I love that. I love strong women. But at the same time, you're vulnerable in the things, the areas you know you want to grow and get greater. And I really appreciate that, because that's the kind of stuff I want my daughters seeing. My kids are all adults. I'm an empty nester. But I want them seeing. I have my kids young. So, as far as what you're talking about, I think one of the biggest problems in relationships is identity. Listen, if my wholeness or completeness as a person is gained by being in a relationship with you, I've just lost the function of what that relationship's for. I'm bringing the better me on my identity, who I am in Christ and in God. You bring your identity, who you are in Christ and God, and we come together, two wholes making a greater whole. If I'm coming in a relationship because I need you to fulfill me in some way, and we know the things we need from our spouses and all that kind of stuff in our relationships, but my identity is never made by somebody else. My identity is made in God and who I am in Him, and then I bring my tools. That way, if I have a strong woman of God, like God called me out of business, I made great money in business at one time. I gave it away, did what God told me to do, but I'm secure enough. If a woman of God is a businesswoman and she makes $80 million a year, I'm secure enough in who I am as a man of God to walk in a strength and call as a priest of the home. Proverbs 31 is very clear that women, they're brilliant in business. They're brilliant in real estate. Read the qualifications of Proverbs 31, and you see how business-minded she was, how industrious she was, how strong she was. A man wounds himself when he does not embrace and encourage that aspect of his woman. That they're complete because of that. She's a kingmaker. Every part of piece he needs to be a king is there, and she completes those pieces when she comes into her life. She's a surrounding army to him, and he is one who protects her. And when you put those two pieces together, if their identities are strong, I'm never insecure because my woman of God is successful in business. She's never insecure when I walk in the call of God and it's powerful and people begin to notice that stuff, because we're secure in Christ and in each other. And my first ministry is always her. She's secure in that. Her first ministry is always me. I'm secure in that. And together we're strong for the world. And I think it's identity. I think it's identity. I really do.
See why I asked him to come on here. See?
Chills. I got chills when you was talking. I love it.
Well, it's an honor to be here. I really honor you, women of God. And I just want to say it's my own time doing this. I bless each of you in the name of Jesus and the beautiful things that God has for you. Patty, I know you have a different faith, but you're a strong woman. You're a beautiful woman. God has great things for you too. I know that. And I just speak to that in all four of you. Thank you for what you're doing in this show, ladies, and what you're doing in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And before you go, I do want to ask you back to Patty's point, if you don't mind, Apostle. How many times do we give grace to these brothers if they're not doing right? I mean, do we cut them off after?
Well, I'll tell you what Jesus said. Because if you ask Sean Mark, you're going to get a different answer. So I'm gonna
Oh my God. Are we 70 times 70 this?
I know, because that's a lot.
It's real. It's real. Number one. Number two is, I'll tell you this. I always remind myself, because there are people God's have me take care of beyond, not always in relationship, but take care of in certain ways beyond that point. And God would always remind me, has He not taken it for me so many times it's uncountable? And that love that He gives me is what I give to the world. Now, letting someone walk on you and treat you like a doormat's one thing. I'm not talking about that. If someone's traumatizing you, if someone's struggling with narcissism, or there are things like that happening, you have to create distance to protect yourself sometimes. But what I'm saying is, I've seen the greatest miracles come out of the fifth or sixth time. And those relationships are decades blessed now together. So I think you have to be led of the Holy Spirit. But understand, if you're not secure in your identity, going back to that, you have to get away, because you're never going to be able to see clearly if you're not strong in who you are as a child of God. You see what I mean? Go ahead.
Oh, I was
Please.
going to ask you is when you're talking about identity, sometimes, especially as women, it is so hard for us, especially to let go of something that is comfortable to us,
Of
right? I
course.
mean, we
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
tendency to hold on. So, could it possibly be that part of our identity, without us realizing, is within that relationship or connection or the fear of having to start over? Or, you know what I mean? I'm really trying to understand this because I know me, I can be loyal to a fault, which is I'm either loyal to a fault or I do like what I've done now. And I've been single since 2016 because I'm afraid to, like pick the wrong person and hold on longer than I should because that's what I have a tendency to do.
Well, maybe it's time to adjust to white chocolate instead of dark chocolate, Lady J.
Hey!
I'm just playing. I'm playing. Okay. You knew when you called me on, Kaylani. Come on, girl. If I don't get a little real, okay. Anyway, I'm just playing. No. To get serious for a
No,
minute.
no, you were kidding, but you weren't playing. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
okay, yeah. I was kidding, but I'm not playing. That's real.
We love
Anyway,
it.
anyway, so to answer the question, this is the problem right here. Your identity in Christ, when you begin to recognize you genuinely, I mean, really, the longest journey is any believer's life is 8 inches from here to the heart. That's the longest journey. When you begin to recognize you're the daughter of a king, when you begin to recognize that God has prepared you for a man of God to even meet the level you are as a woman, forget business, money, all that's great. But who you are as a woman requires a dedication to God and a dedication to himself to be a better part of what he wants to do in life. He has to become something greater to be worthy of one of God's daughters. When you recognize that, then you don't settle anymore for that. If you can't hide your heart safely in a man, that's not God's man. That's not God's man. It's
Let's
just not.
go.
Put all your wounds. If you can put all your wounds in front of a man and he will cover you and not step on you, that's God's man. And maybe he'll never make as much money as you will, but I'll tell you what, you'll never feel more secure, never feel more protected as long as he's driven. See, it's not about how much he makes. Is he driven to succeed? That's the question.
So I got a question. So
Sure.
because there are a lot of women that follow the show, there are men that chime in and listen and comment too. What advice would you give to these men that are in the dating world and dating pool and are aspiring to have these, high value women, but aren't necessarily doing the work on themselves to understand how to show up for women like us?
This ain't going to be popular. Step out of the dating pool and let God change you. Quit messing women up. Quit tearing women up. Get yourself worked on. Get yourself healed of your trauma. You're walking out of trauma probably if you're acting that way anyways. You're insecure, and woman of God that's going to take you to the next level, you're never going to let her take you to the next level because you're always going to be competing with her. And that's unacceptable. Step out of the dating pool until you get right with God, until you get yourself secure. Hey, I was one of those jokers at one time. God had to wreck me and make me something different. I had to become more his image. And that's what, if that man's not walking in God's image, he's out of order anyways in his life, because that's his whole assignment. And then God will bring the wife. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you, including a godly woman. God is preparing his woman. He needs to let God prepare him. Quit. You don't need body counts. You don't need all this kind of crap we think we need. What you need is a man of God who's focused, I don't care what he's done in his past, who's focused on where God's taken him. And you guys will build it together then. Listen, 1 inch of God's favor when you're obedient is greater than 1,000 years of labor anyway. Amen? That's real.
Well,
Y'all get me
y'all
all
heard it
emotional
here.
right now.
This is an awesome moment. We have yet to bring any guest, let alone a man, on That's What She Said. So thank you, Apostle. Any other questions for him?
Yeah. Do you know any of the guys you described?
I was like, can we bet? Can we
I
bet
only know
these
one
men
girl,
through
and
you?
I see him in the mirror in the morning. That's the only one I know. Sorry. Real talk.
As you should.
But here's the thing, man. I'll tell you what. I know my assignment, and I'm not going to break the assignment. That's the next thing. If a man comes in your life and he's tearing you away from your assignment, that's not your man. The life I lead, it would take a very unique woman to come alongside a man like me, because I'm going where God's taking me, and that's crazy right now. It's crazy. So, yeah, amen.
Okay.
But listen, all 4 of y'all are beautiful. I speak God's blessing over all 4 of you. I'm grateful for you guys, and keep going. Keep going, guys. Keep doing this,
Thank
please.
you. Can you tell people where to find you on social media, please?
ApostleSeanMark.com, and then Apostle Sean Mark on Facebook. I think that's Sean Mark Henry on Facebook, Apostle Sean Mark on TikTok, Apostle Sean Mark on Instagram, and YouTube
And
as well.
hashtag Apostle White Chocolate.
White chocolate girl.
That's the new
Okay.
hashtag.
Hey, white chocolate melt. Never. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna stop. Lord, help me out. Hey, Lady J, just send me a like request on social media, girl. I'll share some stuff with you. Y'all be
I
blessed.
got you.
Thank you.
Y'all
Bye-bye.
take care. God bless you.
All right.
That was fun. Woo.
That was fun. Wow.
I need to say something. I just want to say something to add to that and add a little balance just in case there are other listeners that
Love it.
share other faiths.
Love it.
I do want to say that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his first wife that he loved the most, her name was Khadijah, Khadijah, and if you say it in a Middle Eastern accent, but she was actually one of the richest women in the entire region, and she chose him for one reason and one reason alone. He was described as Al-Amin, which means trustworthy. She saw a man that she deemed to be trustworthy, and she chose him because she knew that all of her wealth would be left to him. And then, of course, we can go on to further. If anyone has any questions about multiple wives in the Islamic religion, I'd be happy to answer that. There are requirements, and it's not the norm. So I do want to say that that was a fact. I never really heard that perspective on Proverbs 31. For those that don't know, I studied the Bible for 10 years, and I was baptized. So I have a very strong faith in God. I am not bound to any religion. So I did hear and receive everything that was said, but I did want to add that balance to it. So what happens is that it is totally, absolutely normal from a spiritual perspective, whether you're looking at a book or you're looking deep into your soul, to have a woman that a woman can have all of these benefits in the worldly sense and still desire to lay them at your feet.
Hmm. Can I compliment you, Patty? Seriously, I love the fact that you are so loving and open, and I think that we all respect one another, right, in our beliefs
Yes.
and so on and so forth. But one thing that I've noticed about you since I've literally met you, obviously we speak from our belief, and a lot of times Bible is brought up. You have never like tried to convince or shun or I I cannot even, it's so funny because Patty, you are so successful
Mm.
and like you do have this demeanor where you do not play, you know what I mean? But your heart and your openness and the way that you what is the word I'm looking for? You are just so, you're so full of love, right? And when you're full of love, you're so accepting and you allow people to be themselves while you also look, she started crying, so she had to cut her camera off. I get it.
Right.
I understand. No, I'm just joking. She don't want to cry on camera. She's not a soft girl. No, I'm just joking. But Patty always just like treats everybody with love. And then she also respectfully stands on her own beliefs as well, right? And so I think that's such a great dynamic of That's What She Said. And shouts out to our first guest that we've ever had.
Yes.
Girl, we got to start bringing people in. I am loving bringing
Yes.
people in. Yes.
It
That was awesome.
So good. Absolutely. There she goes. She's back. Did you have to wipe those tears, Patty?
Thank you. I heard you, Jade. I heard you, and I appreciate you so much. I feel like you always give me flowers, and I always need them. And I thank you for seeing my heart through what I feel like I always give a tough exterior when we're on this show, and I'm always talking about like the way I approach things because I am like that. But I want to thank you for seeing me. And this was not a paid advertisement for the gentleman that's coming to me, the kingmaker that's ready. So thank you for that. I heard you.
Period. Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to put out there, if there's anybody ever in the comments, if you do want to come on live on this show, hey, put it in the comments. Let us know. Like, hey, bring me on live. I would love to. And Kaylani doing what she does as a genius backstage can figure out how to get you links or whatever to come on live with us. So I enjoyed that.
That
Yeah.
was great.
That was good.
That was
Nasima, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like I had chills through that whole conversation because I just feel like it's just reassuring to know that we're moving in the right direction because I've had somebody tell me that our generation is messed up because we were taught to be so independent. We sabotaged ourselves. And that's why we
Mm.
see so many women who are older not having babies and like all that kind of stuff. And you know, I don't believe that. I don't believe that anything that you do like out of a good place and trying to empower yourself is something that should be looked at as something that you're doing as a detriment. I just think that other people need to catch up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good. Okay. I know we've got about 12 minutes left ish, about 12 minutes. And I want to pose a question to you all that is pretty viral online. And I've seen so many different responses about it. But how do y'all feel about going 50-50? Can't go 50-50 with no hoe. Go ahead.
Like, okay, 50-50, like in a relationship, like I don't think anything is ever 50-50. I think sometimes you're gonna be 20, sometimes they're gonna be 80. I don't ever think anything is 50-50, but if you're talking about like on a
Splitting
date,
the
like
bills
paying
on a
like
date.
going, oh, so no, bills should never be 50-50 because it just depends on the income. Like it can 50-50 on bills can actually be financial abuse in certain situations. So
Oh, that's a good point. Like,
yeah,
especially if we're not operating with even incomes, and that's
yeah,
for the man or the woman, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference between equality and equity. What were you about to say,
Yeah.
Patty? Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, if you're trying to, if you want a woman that you want to build a relationship with, and you ask her out on a date, and you try to split the check, let me tell you something. What I would do, I'm gonna pay the whole check, and then I'm not gonna call you anymore.
Never
Okay?
again.
Yeah,
That's
because
insane.
don't disrespect me with that. The whole 50-50 conversation is not appropriate in the beginning of a relationship. In the beginning of the courtship, you're setting the tone for the rest of the relationship. So I am not in a successful relationship. Full disclosure, I am choosing to be single. I choose not to take the advances. I am not, and I have been in many circumstances where people want to pick up tabs, pay bills, and go the extra mile to be a part of my life. I'm choosing not to do that right now. What I have learned from a failed marriage and from a 7-year long-term, long-distance relationship is that if you do not raise the bar from day one, then you are going to be paying catch up the entire time. And all of that disappointment is going to manifest in various areas of the relationship.
Yeah.
If you are taking a woman out on a date, pay for the date. You want to talk about building a life together? Let me just say, according to your level of enhanced discernment, don't ask a woman out on a date if you think she's going to be a leech and she's a gold digger and she's going to be using you for whatever it is you got, whatever letter you're at, right? If you're taking a woman out on a date and you ask her out and you don't split the bill, like women, don't split the bill. Don't split the bill. There's a standard that should be upheld in the dating phase. If we've been dating successfully for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, depending on how that chemistry is brewing, and then we want to start talking about how you can see the potential of building with me or having a long-term relationship with me, then I think it's appropriate to discuss your viewpoints, your general viewpoints on how finances should be handled in a relationship. If you're talking about finances in the initial, first of all, you're boring as fuck. Second of all, you have nothing else to talk about. You know what I'm
Crazy.
saying?
No,
Like
I can talk about
are we
money.
really talking about that? Like, can we talk about art? Can we talk about music? Can we talk about traveling? Can we talk about, something? Why are we talking about finances within the first 90 days of dating? So
Ma'am, financially intentional talks about finances on the first day. Miss Nelson, I was just joking. So, okay, let me offer a caveat to that. So then viral, there was this thing where these women made this long list of restaurants you better not
Oh,
invite me to on the first date. And so if we're saying as women that can provide for ourselves, we would possibly be willing to entertain a man that does not make as much money as we do, because we are more so looking for a man that we choose, that's going to protect our heart, that is going to, you know what I mean? Like lighten our load, all of these things. Then if you're saying do not split the bill, does he have to take you to a restaurant that is patty quality? Or can he take you to the Cheesecake Factory on the first date, but he knows that he can afford that first bill?
I don't think nobody was gonna take Patty to the Cheesecake Factory if
Girl,
they even
ever.
knew how she cooks. She's like, first of all, I would not. Like, I don't think she would even
I
be.
mean, just from the perspective of the menu, like I don't know, like that. You're right. I'm not going to cheesecake. Like I love you. I
There's
would
a
have done a
caveat here.
cheesecake. Maybe I was a cheesecake girl 20 years ago when I used to, wear pumps with sweatsuits. But I'm just not her anymore.
So I
So,
think
so basically, listen to how kind of unfair that is, though. So, a man that doesn't like that, okay, it might not even be a financial thing. It may be an exposure thing. He may
Mhm.
really be feeling you. He may be willing to treat you like a queen, allow you to be in your position and not try to compete with you, all of the things. Would you possibly miss out on your king? Because, girl, he can't take you because Lord knows Patty is going to put caviar on Doritos. She going to put caviar.
I really want to respond to this.
All right. Okay. Go. I'm sorry. Go.
There is no romance without finance. That's rule number one. Like, and it's not about, here's the thing. And I want us to like respond to how men that think 50-50 is like the thing or have opinions about it. I just want you to know how you're perceived from women in that way, because it's never actually about the money. It's about your investment. And if you don't have first of all, play in your league. Okay. If you're shooting your shot at Patty, if you did a little bit of research, you kind of understand her world and the world she lives in, right? So like stay in your lane. And if you're dating in your lane and in your league, then I think that it's totally fair. But I definitely think that it's about investment. And so if it's not ever about the money. If you are a man that cannot afford to take the woman out on the date, stop spending time trying to date. Go spend time trying to work. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's what the apostle said. Get out of the dating pool, baby. Save a little bit of change. That's okay.
Right. There's no judgment. You're going to feel better about yourself and your ability to show up as a man when you are better positioned to do the things that you want to do. Now, here's my thing is I have been in both kinds of relationships. I've been in relationships where I have carried the weight. I have been the breadwinner. I have paid most of, if not all of the bills. It didn't start that way. That's what ended up happening. And as someone who cares and loves you, I'm going to pick up when things aren't great. That's what I did. Then I've also been in a relationship where it's like, I don't even have to think. My brain doesn't even, I don't think about how this bill is getting paid. I don't even think about how the car is getting ordered. I don't think about picking the restaurant. But can we rock at the really, really nice restaurants? Absolutely. Can we pick a hole in the wall and find some good ass tacos and burritos? Absolutely. Right. Can we rock both ways? 110%. And I've also, like I said, been in a relationship where I don't even have to think about any of those things. And I would totally 100% say men do not like themselves when their life is jacked up.
Yes.
They don't show up well as partners when their finances are not in order or when they're not where they want to be. So play in your league and
Okay, so I want to bring this up then because Born a Nurse says, I've told my male best friend to stop spending so much money on the first date with some of these women that he doesn't know yet. So it's funny that she says that. I have a guy best friend that is also in the dating pool. He's on a dating app. And I tell him the same thing because here's what we are not realizing, women. A man is normally the one that is asking women out on dates, right? It is a numbers game. So the first woman that he asks out on a date is not necessarily going to work out. If you're even going on 1 or 2 dates a week, because maybe the first time we went out, you already know you've sat down with people before and you think to yourself, I'm never going to see them again. So if they're going on 2 dates a week, as a man, that can get really expensive, especially if there's a certain caliber of woman that you're trying to date. And so I think I kind of agree with Born a Nurse. Like, stop spending so much money on the first date for all of these women. Y'all, seriously, like, I'm not even invested in you. I don't even know if I like your voice yet. I don't even know if I like the way we converse. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I like your mindset. So it's kind of, I think because we know everybody on here is a quality woman, but we fail to realize or even consider the fact that it's a lot of women out here that are choosing to go on dates with men just to get the free
yes.
meal.
And I think that's where
Just
that
to get the meal,
sentiment is coming from. And I don't care. As being financially intentional, I'm gonna tell you to watch your coins first, right? But I feel like if that person is truly interested, we have gotten beyond that point where, you're just getting to like know somebody. If you're like truly interested and really diving deep into who that person is, then you do have to, come out of pocket a little bit. It's an investment.
Okay, I need to redeem myself for just a second here. I met a guy. I met a man. He was tall, handsome, rich, all of the things that you would want on a list or whatever. And the very first date that we went to was a hole in the wall in a small city that I don't want to name in case he's watching. So I let me tell you how fast I hopped in my car and drove an hour and a half to meet dude. Okay. So no, you're right. It's not about that. Now, when you specifically say cheesecake, if you're watching this, don't take me to cheesecake or Applebee's. Okay. Pick the hole in the wall. It doesn't have to be expensive, but don't take me there. Okay. I got a sophisticated palate. But also I'd rather go for a walk with you on the beach than eat something shitty. So,
Yes.
Okay, now with that said, I do agree, you don't want to overspend on the very first date. And some people are particularly bougie about a few things, and that's okay. But you can't impress certain women. Okay. You don't have to impress certain women the same way. So there's a certain way you might carry yourself with what you bring to the table on day one, because you think that that's going to get a woman to act a certain way for you. Her guard might come down for you. But I love what you said, Jade, about how I don't even know if I like your voice. Because there are women like me, women like maybe some of us, that absolutely their guard comes down when you do something intellectually stimulating, when you do something spiritually stimulating. So I want you to know that flexing some of those, wallet muscles don't do the trick for certain women that aren't looking for that. Now, you also have to take responsibility for the fact that if you're leading with that, then you're attracting someone that's looking for that. That's exactly why the finance conversation does not belong in the first 90 days of the relationship. Baby, I'm trying to sit in a wheelchair with you at 92 years old and watch, what's that show with Steve Harvey? Family Feud. Family Feud. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to watch Price is Right, Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune at 92 years old and laugh about some things. Not wonder how we split the bills over the last 30, 40, 50 years. So have something more interesting to say than I can pay for that.
I don't know, y'all. I'm asking the credit score from now on in the DMs. I need to know, because I done got too many times.
What's your Experian login?
Y'all are wild. Thank y'all so much. Today was really fun. I think we're gonna have to normalize bringing some guests on the show. That was really, really good. Thank you again to Apostle Sean Mark, by Nasima, and I first of all, thank you guys for making this really comfortable for me. I'm gonna call y'all as soon as we get off of here. But thank y'all for making this really comfortable for me. Another Wednesday on That's What She Said. If you guys have any topics that you would like to discuss, please put them in the chat. Exchange some social currency. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on other social media channels. Shout out to all my Wire family that is in the chat. What up, Astrid, Latoya, everybody that shows up consistently. We love you. And am I missing anything? Do we need to say anything before we sign off today? Because I got my button ready this time.
Have fun, Patty, in Vegas. What are you doing in Vegas, if you don't mind us asking?
No, I'm speaking at a real estate conference. I have 2 speaking slots here at the real estate conference. Yeah, I'm here for work. And I always bring my mom with me. I'll send you guys a picture because my mom loves Vegas. And so every time I come here, I lose a whole lot of money, but I'm not playing. It's her.
I love that. Yeah. I'm so glad you're speaking. Girl, when I tell you, you belong on the stage. Like, I cannot wait for the world to hear your knowledge and your wisdom, girl.
Thank you so much. I love you deep. I'm so grateful for this union. Man, thank you. You really make me feel good. Thank you.
So if a man meets you in Vegas and approaches you and says, can I buy you a drink? Are you just going to be like, nah? You said you were shutting it down.
I'm going to say, I don't drink, sweetheart. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. I'm going to say that because I don't drink anymore. At all. You can
walk me into this Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah. Or down the street to Chanel. Just kidding, Apostle. I'm just kidding. I'm a kingmaker.
Oh my goodness. And that is what she said. We'll be here same time, same place next week. Everybody have a great day.
Bye, y'all. Love you.